Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream scene. We've got an awesome episode for you guys today, talking about content creation outside of streaming, or what I have coined extracurricular content. It's really difficult to say,
It's a
so
hard word to say.
It's not working out. It's not working out.
Type it, spell check it, leave it there, but saying it is an entirely different thing.
Extracurricular content. It looks fancy, but anyways, it's about making content outside of streaming. I am joined here by my lovely co-host, the Hunter Wild. What's up, Hunter?
Hello, my friends. I'm hanging in there. I'm trying out a new thing with intermittent fasting. I'm doing a 9-hour feeding window, which sounds so zoo-like. It's like you feed the lion within that time frame. It's an interesting sort of shift. So physically, I'm doing interestingly. Mentally and spiritually, I am fan-frickin-tastic. Today specifically, because I how many times can I say this is like the most anticipated show
of the year?
Yeah, it's like this one is. I'm gonna be so furious with my note taking. We have two profoundly talented, attractive, and hilarious, just incredibly witty humans, guests with us today. GassyMexican and Llance, who in my own head I have started calling Llance. With the first L.
I've been saying the LL Llance.
Everybody says
Llance.
The
in South America is known as Llance.
Yeah, it's the Llance.
maybe I'll just start doing that. The original Llance is still taken. I don't know if it's an active account on Twitch, but so I had to add the extra L, and of course I'm not going to get that on Twitter. So
no way, yeah.
So everybody says it wrong. I just let them just kind of do whatever, you know. It's like a school teacher messing up your name, or like
of course
something else you never correct her, you know. Yeah. So
well, so tell us about yourselves, Llance. Let's start with you. What do you do, and how do you fit into the subject matter today of doing like the multi-platform variety of content, cross-pollination stuff?
I mean, I'm a streamer, but that's not nearly as exciting as the whole Burger Kid thing. Everybody knows about that, I think. Basically just do like skits on Twitter, and it was a way for me to like vent basically about stuff that, like, I don't know, would come across very differently if I didn't add like humor and like a video to it. So I don't know, that's just kind of like what I do, I guess. That's how I fit into the subject matter today, is Twitter videos. Stuff like
I
that.
super want to talk about that origin story at some point. Like the way that you phrased that right there is like it was for me was how I started then. How curious. Okay, Max, what about you? What you got? Who are you?
General kind of internet idiot for a while. Been a streamer for a long time, and I do YouTube stuff. That's where I fit in, I guess, for outside content. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I've done like outside of streaming, but main thing is YouTube outside of streaming, like content on there.
Did you start with YouTube?
No, both of them were at the same time. My YouTube
really?
channel was created in like 2006, but I didn't like regularly upload probably until like a year or so afterwards. And then still several years of not even like being partnered, just making content on there. But the entire time I've always done streaming, whether it was on Justin.tv, and then before that it was on Ustream. Even before that, I remember streaming with Adobe Encoder when there was no programs.
Holy smokes.
Doing like a flipbook stream about 10 to 15 frames, maybe 15 if we were lucky. Right. 10 frames a second.
Oh my God.
Yep. That was fun. There's still like old VODs on Ustream of like, don't watch them. They're not good. And also
no
I just
way. I love that kind of stuff where you get those points of comparison where it's like, you know what, where did I start? Oh, how humbling is that? Going back and looking at your first streams.
Yeah, a lot of people do think that I came from YouTube on to Twitch, but no, it's been both pretty much at the same time. For a bit, YouTube was kind of the main thing, and now like Twitch is more my focus just because it's a better use of my time. And I'm sure we'll talk about that today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the reason why we're talking about this is because, you know, obviously we all stream. We want to get into streaming. But as we've talked about in the past, it's really important to always think about like content creation in a bigger space, right? Like it's not just streaming, and you shouldn't only think about trying to get into streaming. It's the same thing with like when you want to start on Twitch and you think about streaming as equal to like playing video games, but it's much more than that, and it can be much more than that. And I think like especially with Llance is, you know, creating these cool skits that has just blown up in the last like month or so, creating content that's like relatable and something new, right? How was that for you, Llance, like getting into that and seeing the response from the community?
Yeah.
Well, like, I don't know. I used to be really into Vine, and so like I watched all the old like skit comedies, like comedians, like I mean everybody knows like ProZD and like Caleb City and people like that. I just never really saw anybody do it with like Twitch in like in a sense of like a Twitch space. And it's really weird. I actually did the female streamer video. Some people have seen it, some people haven't. I didn't get a lot of engagement on it. Like none of my skits were really doing super good, super well, whatever. And randomly somebody I think put it on Reddit or something, and then a big like fight thread broke out on Twitter where like
Of course it did.
where it was like, you know, like males deal with the same amount of harassment that females do. It was like one of those arguments, you know. And somebody linked it and it blew up. This was back in like November. I don't know who linked it, but it kind of like just started everything from there. And like I wasn't going to do the videos anymore. Like I was not worth my time, whatever. Randomly somebody links it, and now I ended up here as whatever this is, Burger Kid, whatever that people know me by.
Week by week, it's a changing.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And like I saw people like quoting the jokes from the videos and stuff, and I don't know. It's kind of crazy, to be honest, like how it all happened. It just was a random person. The tweet was like a month old. And then I remember being like, I think it was Seriously Clara, I think, was somebody who like quote tweeted it, and I recognized her. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And I looked at my notifications and everything just blew up. So I don't know.
Ding,
It's kind of wild, yeah.
ding.
And now, were you streaming the whole time, like I guess before you made this video or during?
Yeah. I've actually been on Twitch for like 4.5 years, something like that.
Okay.
Took like a 6-month break randomly, so everybody knows how that kind of goes. But you know, kind of had to start over after that. But yeah, I've been a full-time streamer for like 2 years now, and the videos just kind of have changed a lot of stuff, I guess, over the last couple months. So.
Oh, I bet. Like getting that kind of reaction. I mean, your tweets get hundreds of retweets, like every video that you make instantly.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Hundreds or thousands.
Yeah. And I've played around a lot. Like it's hard to play around with like algorithms and whatnot whenever you don't have the engagement. But now that I've had the engagement, I've had the pleasure of being able to kind of like mess around with the Twitter algorithm a little bit and see like what works, what doesn't work. Kind of like everything from like tweeting at the same time, like you would on like a YouTube video, like posting at the same time, to like how often you tweet, like how that changes it, to like how doing a thread changes stuff as well. So like it's been kind of interesting. I'm kind of like still messing around with it, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's something that we're always trying to study too, is like when's the best time to tweet? Like when how often should I tweet? How to how to get the best engagement? Like we talked about this, I think, during our Q&A session not that long ago, about like quote retweets versus regular retweets, and where you could retweet something and it's not going to get nearly as much engagement as if you quote retweet it. It's kind of weird.
I think that comes from like profile pictures. I know this is going to sound weird. Don't like, just hear me out for a second. I haven't changed my profile picture since all of this started.
Yes.
I honestly,
that.
I recognize accounts based on their profile picture. Like, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Whenever you quote tweet something, somebody sees your picture, they're like, oh, I know that person. Let me read this. Whereas like your average user, if you retweet something, they don't know who they are. They're just gonna like kind of just keep scroll right past.
It's that weird social media and general like 21st century late capitalism marketing thing where everything's vying for your attention. And so we have inadvertently learned how to tune certain things out, right? Yeah. Humans are fantastic at pattern recognition. Noticing who, like, the things that are familiar to you when you're just flipping through your timeline. That's I think that's huge. I totally agree.
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference personally. And it was just because like I started recognizing like I don't know people's Twitter handles. I know their profile picture, and it's weird.
Yeah.
Plus, people change their Twitter handles, like the thing that shows up prominently in their name when they're going to like, I'm flying to Denmark or whatever, wherever you're going. So it's very hard to see and
to the
recognize that.
conventions, or like it's Halloween, so you get the spooky name and so on.
I've wanted on the flip side, I've seen plenty of people that change their picture all the time, and I'm like, oh, should I do that? That doesn't seem like it would make sense. And I feel like if I do that now, and everyone's gonna be like, who's this guy? So I just kind of keep it the same because of that reason.
I wonder about both of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think like people are naturally drawn to images. That's why I'm always like, if you do a going live tweet, include like a little, like a selfie or a screenshot, some type of thumbnail to get people's attention. When you're a content creator and you're trying to branch out, social media is so important. But the thing about social media is that it's always changing. I mean, Instagram's always changing. Twitter, even Twitch, and the way discoverability works on Twitch, it's changing constantly. So it's important to be aware of that and to just kind of test things out.
Yeah. But then at the same time, it's like, how much are you listening to with all these things? Where are you looking at the metrics, the feedback? Sometimes the value can be really high, but you're seeing lower metrics. But it's something. It could be a smart move that starts gearing you in a direction that would result in something really good later on. But in the short term, it's lower. You're going to be seeing like worse results. So sometimes that can be really challenging to manage by itself. So I had this. I threw this like massive list of notes at these guys before the stream, and I was like, don't bother looking at these.
I read it, and then I was like, I read it, and then I was like, I don't need to remember any of this because it's his job to remember this.
Yeah, exactly. That one's on me. So I wanted to clarify like a bit of the subject matter we're tackling and start like moving through some of these in a bit of a structured way. Because incredibly selfishly, because I want to know the information. Okay, so first and foremost, today we're talking about the variety of platforms, the types of content that you can produce on them, a bunch of things that factor into that, cross-pollination, how you can leverage the metrics and the value that you're seeing on another platform, or if you're starting on Twitch, like myself, I'm on Twitch almost exclusively. Trying to produce something elsewhere, how do you generate engagement on those other platforms? How much time is it worth investing in those things? That's a lot of the general sort of subject matter of today. I wanted to start out with the question of whether or not you think it's fair to say that one platform should be your anchor. Or have you seen people out there who really manage to have a foot in each door? Max, it seems like that might be your kind of a thing, is like actually balancing multiple platforms on relatively equally.
Yeah, I'd like to say that they're equal, but YouTube, with the changes that they've made and the changes with their algorithm and all that stuff that the dumb stuff that they've done, have made Twitch more worth my time. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy still like making content for YouTube, and it's still worthwhile for me to do that because obviously over the years I've amassed a pretty decent audience on there. But it just doesn't pay off as much as it used to. But that said, I'm still taking content from Twitch and bringing that over to YouTube. Recently, a couple months back, I hired a full-time editor to go through and finally free up the time, because that became the real issue for me creating content on YouTube, is the fact that it just takes too much time for me to edit. I like editing, but I don't like editing under a horrible, deadline of like, oh, I got to go live by like 7 something or 8, because that would drastically impact when I have to go live and everything. So that content is still being made, and it's a mixture of highlighted stuff from my streams and also little recording sessions here and there. And I just recorded something just before we did this for YouTube, so it's easier for me to just focus on just doing the thing, and then like being the talent for it, and then having an editor go through with a fine tune and being able to pay attention to make that stuff better and highlight the content, rather than me going through with a mindset of like, great, all right, let's just get through this video, because that's not going to create a good video unless I really sink my teeth into it. And if that happens, then I'm coming out of editing for like an hour and a half to 2 hours being like, all right, let's be happy for stream. It just doesn't work. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that you could have one anchor, one platform as your anchor. But in my experience, it's understanding that anchor may shift. And because YouTube used to earn more for me than Twitch and all that stuff did. And nowadays it's like, it still earns extra income, but Twitch is more worth my time for for putting like my
Yeah.
full attention on, because that one is, you know, you're live. You have to be present there. You have to have energy in order to do that. Whereas YouTube, like I said, I can just bang out a recording session or do streams and then work on getting some post production with an editor, and then still have content that regularly goes up, and
And
still trying to figure out the workflow between the two of them.
I think that's where I think that the value here in my thinking, and part of why I want to really move in this direction myself is twofold. On the one side, you know, you get to, I think I've already forgotten my second point. On the one side, you get to pivot at will, right? Like, so if you have at least one other platform, if something happens on that platform, or to the algorithms, or to the nature of the creation and publishing on that other platform, you can, because you already have an audience on somewhere in an alternative, you're already familiar with that scene, with that segment of the industry. You could just shift your weight and hopefully still be at least okay in the interim.
Right.
I think that's really cool. Oh, and then the second one is that, of course, you get to draw in an audience and push an audience to the multiple platforms, instead of if something crashes, then you're trying to, you know, jump ship onto something else and hoping that people come with you in the meantime.
Yeah.
And that seems like way too insecure.
Yeah, YouTube has made that a little bit harder as far as pushing content onto Twitch, and they've actively done that, because I used to upload for the entirety that I like streamed, or at least maybe not the entirety that I streamed, but most of the time that I've streamed, I pushed YouTube videos, like, you know, hey, I'm going
Whenever you
live.
went
And
live, right?
some people still
Yeah.
do that, but
I remember that.
I don't know. A little bit ago, I got hit with a community guidelines strike for using the same video that I've always used. So something changed on their end, yet they were like, no, now everything's the same, but don't do that. So now, I mean, I can still push Twitch and stuff. It's just a little bit more indirectly, because the videos that go up are like highlights of all the best stuff that goes on in my stream. And then in the description, you know, it says like, hey, you want to see these streams when they're live and get the actual raw content, follow there. But it's a little less, you know, than me just being like, hey, and I still want to talk to YouTube and people at YouTube, because I have some friends that work there, and be like, so what is acceptable now? Because clearly something has changed, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess when I figure that out, I'll share that information. I just haven't taken the time to talk to them, because who wants to talk to YouTube? They're horrible people.
YouTube doesn't want to talk to YouTube.
Yeah.
So now, a lot of streamers, when they're just starting out, they're balancing school or work, you know, a full-time job with getting into streaming. You know, so they may not have the time to do like YouTube editing and Twitch stuff. How valuable do you think it is for what you're doing now, which is offloading some of your Twitch content, making highlights and stuff, and then putting that on YouTube, where it's from the stream itself, versus creating new content just for
This
YouTube?
is what I always call double dipping. It's where you're already doing one thing. Why not just take that and make that work more for you?
Yeah, and I think at that point it becomes, yeah, you have to realistically look at how much free time you have. If you're just, you know, if you don't have the ability to hire an editor, or even have like a friend that does, if you have a friend that can do it, and then maybe you can figure out something that's a little bit cheaper, that way it's not just monetarily, you know, monetary. We'll say that's a word.
Extracurricular.
Yeah, extracurricular. Yeah, you have to figure out if it's worth it for you to go through and edit that stuff down, or if you just want to have it raw and become more like an archive. The thing with YouTube as well for me is, I tell people, if it doesn't take that much time, if you're not going to go through and edit it and put it up there, you can at the very least put it up as an archive, and then that's just going to be kind of neat for you to go back and check out. And if it starts to gather a presence on YouTube, you at least have something on your channel, rather than nothing.
That's true.
So let's say you're Llance, and you know, he's kind of blown up with these Twitter videos and things like that. If he's been putting this stuff on YouTube, and that, you know, that kind of like he already has stuff that people can go back and look at. Like he said too, like that one video that he started with, that blew up on Reddit. I'm sure some people have been going through his profile and going back. So similarly on YouTube, if he has those videos uploaded and archived, which if you're not doing that, Llance, do that.
I got it.
Yeah, he's got him in there.
Yeah. So that way people can find them. You know, because also it's not always easy to find videos on Twitter to do that. You can type in.
Right.
There's no.
It's miserable.
It's not like YouTube. As much as it's a volatile platform, you can still type in, you know, Burger Kid, and I'm sure you could probably find Lance's video if he's uploaded it and stuff and tagged it and all that stuff. But it is, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to nowadays more than ever. It's not just hard on Twitch to gain a following, or Twitter. It's hard kind of on everything to gain a following if you didn't get your foot in the door earlier. So I've been fortunate in that regard. But also the downside of that is somebody who's been on these platforms for a long time. It's harder for me to be in their like algorithms as like trending and stuff because it's like, you're an old guy.
You're not trendy
You're not the
anymore.
fresh meat.
Yeah, exactly. So that becomes a challenge for people that have been established on the platform for a bit, to try to figure out like, how do I fit into this newer mold and stuff. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question. What were we talking about? Stream? YouTube? What?
YouTube. Talk about YouTube.
Yeah.
It was YouTube.
We're talking about offloading your Twitch content
offloading,
to YouTube.
offloading.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I do still think there's value there to do that. At the very least, just like I said, so you have stuff on another platform rather than somebody going to your YouTube channel when you plug it and there's nothing there.
Yeah. And so now what about the division of your time? I assume that some of this is a matter of common sense, but what's common sense for one person could be like complete mind-blowing wisdom for somebody else. So what about when it comes to, the division of that content, creating and producing novel stuff for a different platform? Like that's like Llance is absolutely nailing that, right? Like the things that you're doing can only be done in a pre-recorded sort of context. And the amount of time that you put into that, is that, I mean, obviously in the moment it's feeling worth it. Is that something that you plan on pushing moving forward? Are you looking at like switching it up? And how much value do you think there is in spending that amount of time in producing novel content for another platform?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit before. Like my time, I only have like a certain amount of time that I can be here and like actually use my like internet, I guess. You know what I mean? And I actually posted today. I didn't even stream today because I did a video today instead. And like, it's because I'm the world's worst at like time management. I just am. But like, I recognize that. And like, my thing is, I don't know. Sometimes I do feel like putting more time into a video than I would like my stream, and that's just kind of like a day by day call. I think for me, at least, it's like, what am I going to do and be able to like, I guess, be my best at, if you want to throw like a weird, like motivational thing in there, like it's, if
Sure.
I'm really not in like a writing mood or anything like that, then I will just stream that day and just like ignore the other content. Like, but I'm not super structured either. And
Because
I know
you have to script
like,
this out, right?
Stuff. Some of it's scripted, some of it's improv is usually what it is. Like some days it'll take me like 30 minutes to record a video because it's really like on point, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that works. That's really good. And then other days it'll take me like 3-4 hours because I'll sit down and edit it and then realize like I left out a big portion of it or something like that. And I have to like, get back up and like put like a costume back on or something and then like go back and, so it just depends. I do think time management's very important. I'm the worst person about it though. I just really, really, really push like do what I'm gonna be good at that day. Because if I put out a crap video, all it takes is like 1 or 2, and then people are just gonna be like, oh, yeah, I'm over this. And then, they just kind of like move on after that.
That is always the fear, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, you found something that people are really gravitating towards, and it's clearly something you enjoy doing because you've been making a lot of videos since. So now this is clearly something that's important for your brand, your identity. How much time now, compared to when you first did it, are you trying to schedule it into like, oh, I would like to do a Twitter video every X days?
Yeah, so right now I usually do like 2 to 3, like a week, something like that. Sometimes it's just 2, sometimes it's 3. And that's, again, that goes back to like understanding kind of how Twitter like promotes things and stuff like that, and like when the fall off period is for like actually promoting like videos and stuff. And so that's where that falls in. It's like that's just more important for like my consistency and like my consistent like growth, I guess, but that's just kind of what I set aside is like 2 to 3 a week, and depending on what days I feel like doing them, then I'll do them those days. That's just kind of like, again, I'm not a super structured person, but that's what I try to strive for is like 2 to 3, but I don't put a lot of pressure on myself because then I start hating it.
So has that cut into your stream time at all?
Yes, it has. It's cut into it, but it's weird because, again, my streams have been better because of the growth on the other platform.
Yeah,
like
right.
Everything's gone up. Views, subs, everything has gone up. So it's like it's a fair trade-off for me,
Right.
Yeah.
I
So I don't
mean, you
know.
never know when that's going to actualize, right? It's like
Mhm.
because you could be sitting there producing content on a platform. We've seen this with like just a bunch of our friends and a bunch of the streamers who blown up. You could be sitting there producing content. It's really good freaking content, but it's not gathering the steam that it eventually does. But there's some trigger point, and you get you've been doing all the good work like the entire time. It's been worth a lot. It just hasn't been paying off immediately, but then you get that big elevation, and now you're ready to capitalize on that. Like you've got a system, you got a sort of formula, you feel comfortable doing it, you're confident, and then you're able to work with that. I think about like there's so I mean like how many platforms out there are there, and like types of content. You've got podcasting, live streaming on any of the platforms, podcasting in a variety of places, pre-recorded YouTube content or anywhere else, and then stuff like obviously Twitter and Instagram
Yeah.
and Snapchat. Is that what kids do? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, so I would say like you have like photos, right? Like Instagram and Twitter for photos. And then you also have Instagram stories and Snapchat for like live vlog photos.
See, I don't know.
It's like a mesh of like, and then yeah, you have things like TikTok and that's also I guess I would lump that into where it's like little shorts
Yeah.
of and like videos and pictures combined. Media, I guess. I mean, it's all media, right?
Yeah.
It's all yeah.
I'm actually curious about something. While we're still talking a little bit about Twitter and YouTube, do you
Mhm.
guys bring YouTube content or even your stream content onto Twitter?
That's something that I've done a little bit, but I need to do better at is grabbing those like little. I think I'm gonna start
Yes.
having my editor or have another dedicated person. I've actually talked to somebody who does a lot of. You've probably seen them from like Diction and Cream and things like that. Stuff that posts on Instagram, and also I think they use them for Twitter too, where he just cuts together like little highlights and stuff, and then puts like, "Hey, this is where you can find him live," kind of thing. So the
That's
content comes
going in a
first, and then
note.
it's like if you interest that, or if you're interested in that. So having a guy for that, I think, is going to be something that I'm do moving forward, partially with me doing it myself. But again, because it does take time, even something small like
Yeah.
that, going through and cutting it together and making it look nice with whatever, that takes extra time. But yeah, I think there's a lot of value there too, because ideally you want someone to get involved with you as the person, invested in the personality, the ability to entertain, and that should span across all sorts of platforms. At least that's what you want. You want everything to kind of cross pollinate. So if something doesn't work coming from another platform, it might work somewhere else. Perfect example is like,
Huh.
it maybe if Lance started on YouTube doing these skits and stuff, probably wouldn't get as much traction because it's super saturated. It's hard to share.
The sharing
Because,
is a big one on that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's another step involved in sharing rather than just like, hey, this video is embedded right onto YouTube. It's super easy to retweet rather than being like, hey, check out this funny YouTube video. Like maybe
Yeah.
some people would share it, but it wouldn't. I don't think it would grow and emerge as much as it did for him. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think that's something I'm going to focus more on going forward for
Yeah.
like using YouTube stuff or even Twitch stuff.
And it's really interesting that you made the comment about the Instagram thing too, because that's something I was going to ask Lance is, are you on Instagram? Do you put these videos on Instagram?
No, and
Do it.
so no. The reason why is because Instagram has a 1 minute limit, and then it breaks it up into like multiple different parts.
Then don't do it,
Uh,
Lance.
And so what it'll end up doing is it makes me have to, because I tried a few of them, and what it ended up doing is like it'll cut it in the middle of like a punchline or a joke, and then the joke
Ugh.
is broken up and it's awful. So
Right.
you have to swipe over to get to the next part of the video. And it's my Instagram is just strictly me doing nothing. Like it's like me just like pictures of like me at home, or like me just doing like videos with my dogs or something. It's just something a little bit more personal, I think, for me.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, that was the big reason. I tried a few of them on Instagram, and it just didn't
Damn.
really do anything, and so I was like, whatever, it's not a big
So-
deal. So
Well, with how well your videos do on Twitter, have you thought about actually dedicating time to create Instagram curated videos that are
That minute
shorter?
and under stuff.
no. And the reason why is because one of the reasons why the videos do so well is like now it's gotten to a point where like I've gotten a little bit larger of a following on Twitter. But one of the reasons why the videos started to do well is, like Max said, was the like ease of sharing, I guess. Like retweeting, liking, whatever, and like it'll show you your top tweets. So you guys know, like you won't even be following the person, but it'll show you like something that somebody liked, and that's
Driving me
how
mad.
like my videos spread.
That's driving a lot of people crazy. That's great for you.
Yeah.
It is. No,
It
I'm,
works.
yes, I am a product of a broken algorithm on Twitter, and I'll be the first to tell you that, because people won't be following me, but they've seen like a bunch of my videos, and it's because
Yeah.
there's somebody liking my tweets. And you got to think about how large the Twitch base is on Twitter. In my personal opinion, other than like YouTube, as far as like just a social networking site, I feel like Twitter is probably the largest like site. It's the first site that like a lot of streamers or like Twitch viewers or whatever go to keep up with creators.
Right.
A lot of my video content being based around Twitch, it's obviously helped, because there's been times where like I'll post a video. If somebody were to search Twitch on Twitter, because I've tested it like just on a dead account, right? If somebody were to search Twitch on Twitter, my video would be the first one that pops up, because it has like Twitch. It'll be about Twitch or like streaming or something. And that's just like the way, I guess, that that broken algorithm has helped me. But it doesn't work like that on Instagram, obviously. A little bit more difficult, I think, to grow on Instagram, but I don't know, because I don't have a lot of experience with it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
That's something I'm
not
trying
like
to navigate
super into
too.
that. That's still like foreign
Uh-huh.
territory for me. So I can't really
Yeah,
help with the Instagram videos.
I feel like Instagram's a growing platform, and it's something I've been trying to do more and more with. And I'm starting to see some streamers post like clips and stuff to Instagram, and it's something that I've been considering trying. So I'd be curious to see like, you know, if you test it out at some point, see how it does. I mean, it's definitely worth trying at least, right? Like considering the traction you've gotten with the style of your video. I mean, it's a perfect like style to put up on Instagram. Like those short little videos.
The style is, but that whole thing of the limiting it to a minute, like a lot of the glory of the content that you've actually been producing is how it plays out with its pacing over its time frame.
There's a build up, and then it's usually like
it's a great
slow
tragedy.
build up, yeah, it's really what it. And I've done some minute-long videos, and I can do them. It's just a different style. It's a different pacing. And you obviously like. I don't want to say like it like messes with the video, but it definitely messes with like you go from like doing like in stand-up comedy terms, right? Like you go from doing like an hour-long special to like a 10-minute set. You have very different jokes that you tell. You go from telling a story to telling like one like quick hit punchline joke.
Right.
And I think it's just a different method, I think. And it's something that like I might play around with. But again, I'm just so lazy. It's bad. It's bad.
I think it leads into another question I want to ask, which is how many platforms is too many? And is there sort of like a right number for that, right? Because it's like, if are you doling out your content if it's the same thing that you're putting in so you're just trying to like shotgun it out there until something works, or carefully curating, specifically targeting the algorithms in different on the different platforms, which requires a lot of training yourself and educating yourself on the systems and what's valuable, what works in one place and not in another. And is 5 platforms too many? Is 2 too few? Or is that personal?
I think it's personal. I think it's really just how much becomes too much and too overwhelming for you. You can also just because you have a presence on one platform, and as you're like you were talking, going back to like the anchor kind of thing. If you have one that maybe works best for you and you spend the most time on that, that doesn't mean that you can't still pepper the other platforms with some of your stuff. Like for Llance, for instance, if he wants to focus on doing Twitter stuff because that's what's working for him, he could still cut down like little teasers of things that he does, or maybe even some of just like the best moments of stuff that doesn't really need like the huge setup. It's just funny and on its own, this 10 seconds and this 10 seconds, however he wanted to do it, and cut that up. And then through that Instagram post, plug his Twitter, like, and be like, here's the full stuff. Because although you're not going to see like a lot of people go over, because people don't like having a step in front of them, but it's going to be more than if you never plugged it ever. You know what I mean? So
that's true.
You got to shoot your shot.
I think it depends on like what you're interested in doing too. I've seen a lot of streamers, or I've seen a lot of people that started streaming, was full-time streaming, and have changed their interest to doing like more Instagram-based stuff, maybe more YouTube-based stuff. And I think I think the best way to do it though is like not to start out trying to do everything at once, but like along with the anchoring thing where it's like you do this and then you're like while you're doing that you're plugging another thing you're doing, right? And then like when that starts to build and that becomes a steady thing, then that's when you start to be like, oh well, I'm gonna start doing this third thing now, and then start to plug that as you go, instead of being like, hey guys, I'm going to start streaming. I'm also going to be putting videos on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter and Steam and all this kind of stuff. And then it's just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
That's fine for like at your end of your stream. And even me, when I do that, I don't like, just like, hey, there's all my crap in the chat. If you guys want to check it out, go for it. That to me seems a lot more engaging than being like, here's my Instagram, here's my Twitter. I do this all the time. You know, like I'll find myself sometimes doing that. I'm like, God, I don't even want to hear what I have to say right now. It just sounds stupid. So, you know, I kind of just throw it out there. And if people want to check it out and they're interested in what I did on stream, great. For other stuff, yeah, I'm not like making Instagram stories saying like, hey, I'm live. And also, by the way, follow the Twitter. You know, it's just bad. I try to I'm never gonna be that
shout
guy.
out one thing, like one thing, be like, get them hooked to one thing and have that be a place where they can find other things. Like using like Twitter's pinned tweets is a great tool. So if you're streaming, be like, hey, follow me on Twitter. That's all you have to promote throughout the stream. They go to Twitter, they see all of your other stuff right there.
That's true too. I'm trying to get a little more creative and fluid with the design, the integrated design of a bunch of things, which I haven't really done yet, but I'm sort of working on it. So like, for instance, you know, streaming for 6 hours, I'll take maybe 2 breaks or something. During the breaks, can I have my Instagram feed that shows up there so that people can actually see it while they're here? They can, without taking away from content that's being produced, without me having to ramble like an idiot, because I do when I'm trying to plug all my different, you know, social media platforms and other platforms. Just have it sort of fluidly show up, where the people who are already engaged and already interested in what I do and who I am and whatever, just see the pretty pictures, just see some of my top tweets and maybe why they're valuable, things like that. I'm wondering like how much of that can be managed. Sort of more creatively.
I mean, during my intro, I have like highlight videos and in between a call to action. Like it would be like a 10-second thing where it's like, follow me here. There's the highlight. You can also check out content here. There's the highlight. So it's not like in the middle of the stream, every 10 minutes, follow me here, follow me there, go there, find me there.
I've been doing more and more of, and this has happened before with other streamers doing this, but just since I do have that YouTube content with edited videos and stuff, whenever I think I'm going to get up and like maybe take the dog out and do stuff, it might be like a 5 or 10 minute break. I'll just put on a YouTube video that has highlights of everything, even if it's not necessarily Twitch content. It's also, you know, just YouTube stuff. One, it keeps people there rather than just an empty chair and music. It keeps them engaged in it, and it really does work. Like a lot of people get invested in the I'll be back and I'll be like, all right, do you guys want me to finish at, you want me to turn off the video? They're like, no, I want to see the I'm like, okay, fine. Fine.
No, we're watching that, Dad.
That's good.
Don't change the channel.
Things like that. I've also, I want to experiment with doing like ads, fake ads for everything.
That's what I'm working on too. Yep.
And then those become real ads and they can't tell the difference.
I like that.
But in the style of like, kind of, I've always liked the Wayne's World style of promoting things, where it's like new print, tiny, orange, different, you know, where it's very obviously plugging something, but it's just unabashedly like doing
to that exact same point. One of the dudes who does graphics for me has literally taken some of those Wayne's World like Reebok and Pizza Hut advertisements and just replaced it with my stuff, like in the GIFs and images. So like we're even playing with Wayne's World's own commentary on the thing by using their imagery and swapping this stuff around. I'm totally with you. I love that kind of stuff. And I find it to be really appealing when you have like a comedic bent to your stream. It's like the irony, everybody's about it. They're like, oh, that's hilarious. And I will check it out, even though I know that I'm just part of the corporate commercialist system.
People know it's an ad, but if there's some value there that's, you know, able to lift that content up so it's not just an ad, then great, awesome, cool. People also, I feel like, can respect the fact that like, hey, you made an ad kind of funny. Maybe I'll check the thing out. You know? So
like my
I mean, it doesn't feel like an ad.
Just since I've started calling it Wakey Juice. Just like the tiniest little comedic shift has actually started to make differences there. It's interesting.
That shouldn't sound weird if you break down Wakey and Juice, but together it just sounds really weird and awkward.
I know, it's so strange. It's so strange.
Can we see you act out like a plug for this Wakey Juice? Because I kind of want to see this.
Now on the spot. I don't think I can perform. Right? I tell you what, I'll draft up an ad for it and we'll show that one.
Don't worry, I'm not
Looking forward
watching
to it.
you.
As he watches me, I feel the eyes.
Yeah. But I wanted to experiment with more stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, if you can integrate something into being genuine and seamless, that's gonna go so far, especially with streaming.
Yeah, that's the takeaway that I'm kind of getting at. I was going to even mention that before. A lot of the stuff and success that I've found, and I just recently, I did one of those kind of generic tweets, and I hated myself for doing it. Just like what do you like in a streamer? What do you want? And I was like, I know it's one of these tweets, but I'm genuinely interested to hear what you have to say. So please respond. And a lot of people were just like, yes, someone who's genuine, doesn't feel like they're putting on something too much. And like you said, there's a difference between having varying energy levels. And some people do have a shtick that they do, like they have a character or something like that. I've never gone that route because I thought it would be exhausting and I don't think I could do it and sustain it for a long time. But especially for variety streamers and things like that, just knowing that what you're seeing is like the person, they're not trying to like just suck you, out of money, that kind of thing, and get your eyeballs glued on you for just monetary gain. Knowing that there's an actual person behind there and that there's a connection behind there, just being genuine has helped me a lot in my career, I think, or at least trying to be genuine and come off that way. So sometimes, and even then I still worry about like when I hit up my friends, I tweeted about that before, like people that are like larger than me that do my same kind of content. I still feel weird sometimes hitting them up just because I never want to come off that way, even to a detriment. And I know that most of the time they would probably be like, yeah, dude, I've known you for like 10 years. Why would you? But I'm like, but recently you've had a lot of success and now people are going to look at you and me and see like I'm just sucking that success from you. So it's a weird mental game, but I have to tell my brain to shut up a lot. And I think a lot of us have to tell our brains to shut up a lot, stop overthinking.
Yeah. It's honestly one of the catch-22s of being a streamer and being friends with other streamers.
Yeah. And you're still going to get that, recognizing too that you're still going to get people that from the outside who have no idea that you two have known each other for the longest time.
Well, they don't care either.
Like, and they don't care. They're just coming. Yeah, they're just coming by me like, you're a leech. Yeah. Wow, we see what you're doing. That kind of thing. But getting over that hump mentally, and then just trying to be genuine and hopefully, the most important thing is that you come across genuine to your friend or whoever you're talking to and trying to come across to, and the viewer. So that's kind of like the key point of what I've been talking about, is just trying to stay genuine as much as you can and have that come across.
Yeah. So to shift the topic a little bit, Llance. See, I do that. I knew I was gonna do that. It's better than Llance.
You are also now Spanish.
Llance.
It's okay.
What was I saying? I was going to say something really important. So with your content and your videos now, how has your stream changed? How has your content on stream changed from this newfound fame?
Yes.
My content hasn't changed at all, which is hilarious because people, a lot of times I get it all the time, is that people will come in and they're like, I expected you to be completely different because I don't know, like I've always just been just kind of, I just chill. I don't really.
I expected like 8 of you.
Well, like people just expect me to like be, I guess, like a little bit more like off the wall, like bouncy, like whatever. And it's more just like me, just like kind of talking, chilling, whatever. And it goes back to like I used to stream like really long streams, so I wouldn't like exert an insane amount of energy. Like I could get excited, but it's really just like me like enjoying games, like trying to like crack jokes, stuff like that. So my content hasn't changed at all. The people that have come in have been much different in terms of like most of the time people come in and will just like throw a line, like their favorite line from one of my videos. And
you Burger Kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a burger by you?
Yeah. And so that's how it's changed. It's like whereas used to it was people coming in and being like, hey, what are you doing? Because like nobody reads titles, so they'd be like, hey, what are you doing? Like,
what game is this?
What are you playing? Exactly. And it's turned into like they'll come in and quote a video or something, and so I usually have to come up with something to go back at that, or somebody coming in and just being like, hey, love your videos, whatever. So like my audience retention has changed slightly. I have a lot of people that pop in, like follow, and like due to the times that I stream, like they pop in really quick, like, oh my god, he's streaming. Like I'm gonna go follow, say hi, like say thank you or whatever, and then they go back and do what they were gonna do in general. So traffic's higher, audience retention is a little bit different, but the content itself actually hasn't changed at all, which is great because then I don't get that comment like, "Oh, you've changed. You're so different now. You're so you're
You've
different."
changed.
Yeah, you just can't
I
be
don't
here
really mind
anymore.
that question because I'm like, yeah, man, that was the whole point. That's why I've been working so goddamn hard. So I'm trying to change. I want to be different.
I hated myself.
I don't want to be stuck in the same
I don't want to
place.
do this anymore.
Yeah. The
So
whole
Now-
point.
Do you cross over your Twitter content into the stream? Like, do you play videos in between? Do you have any
Oh, that's a good question.
memes adapted from the Twitter content?
No. And it's usually just because like I don't have to do. I told you it was the weirdest thing that people have been like seeing people quote a video in like on other tweets or like in I went into a stream the other day and was like talking and the streamer like pulled up one of my videos and I was like, okay, well that because like somebody linked it to him. They're like, oh my god, this is so funny. Like you have to watch it. And like it was just such a weird experience. Everybody does that for me, so I don't really have to, which is really But yeah, I so like the crossovers, I don't know. And like I know that y'all were talking about like cross pollination and not to like backtrack too much. I don't really promote too much. Whenever you were talking about like promoting like this, and this, and you
Yeah.
were talking more like one thing. People were getting mad at me because I went 2 months, all of December, I think, and then January, I didn't tweet out my stream one time. Like while I was like going through that like big like growth phase and everything, and people were getting
Yeah.
mad at me, and I was like, no, just trust, like just let me see what happens. And my stream was growing without me even tweeting it out, and so I had this weird theory that like, oh, people don't like going live tweets, like people just scroll past them like a billboard ad.
I mean,
And I
people
tweeted
don't.
it.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my
And-
experience, they don't.
Yeah.
The best way you can make them interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just letting people come in that wanted to come in, whatever. And so, some people were like, oh, well, maybe you should tweet it out today. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So the other day I was like, this is the test. Like, I'll tweet it out. And I tweeted it out. And I noticed instead of like my viewers just like gradually climbing and then kind of leveling off, they skyrocketed for like 10 minutes, right? Like everybody came in from Twitter just because it was like the first time, like, oh my God, you stream, whatever. Like I had a bunch of follows and everything. And then it went back down because people went on about their day. They were on Twitter, probably like on the toilet, and was like, oh, he's streaming. Let me check in. And they clicked on it. And then they
Right.
immediately clicked back off because
Mhm.
it was just a quick, like, oh, I was on Twitter. I didn't want to be on Twitch at that time. Like it was
Also,
kind of
he's
one of
not
those
Burger
things.
Kid. He doesn't have a burger in his hand, so I'm just peace out here.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's also
Um,
probably an expectation of, like you mentioned, of you being like exactly in the videos.
Yeah.
And
I'm not.
translating that exactly on stream.
Yep.
yeah. I don't know. I like, and I crack jokes and stuff like that. It's no different. It's just it's very different. Like editing down into 2 minutes stuff that I've written or putting on a show basically to live content, it's very different. It's and I think that a lot of people have that expectation of like they expect me to be like shouting profanity at the top of my lungs, and I'm just like, no,
Yes.
I'm just enjoying being Kratos for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go on about my day. And
The thing is, the majority of people that come through, like you said, are probably expecting like you to be a little more amped up and stuff like the videos
Mhm.
because one, they have a lack of understanding of how this stuff works as far as like
Right.
having a video. Like you said, it's post production, cutting things up. You have higher energy. But there is still going to be those people, like you said, like you've experienced more followers, people that stay there because they like the behind the scenes and they like to get to know the creator behind the stuff.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's not as much as the people that would come through in general. Like of those
Yeah.
people that come through, it's not going to probably be like maybe 20 or 30% maybe that stay. But that's still better than no people coming through.
Oh,
and staying,
definitely.
That's certainly
so
true.
it's still a positive. It's tough to, a lot of people mentally look at it as just a negative of like, oh, these people are coming in, they're leaving right away without actually thinking about, well, you have people coming in, which you did not have before.
they got shit to do too. And like
Yeah,
honestly,
exactly.
I have like I think almost 18,000 followers, something like that. I'm not expecting to have 18,000 viewers. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
you know, it's just nuts. People expect that, I think, too, is like they have a weird um understanding of like maybe they'll like post something that gets like a lot of attention on Twitter, or like they have like a a big YouTube video like blows up or something like that. It doesn't necessarily directly translate into success on like Twitch,
Mhm.
because that's just not what, you did the thing on the other platform. I wanted to be on that platform, not necessarily on Twitch
Mhm.
at the time that you just so happen to be streaming, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like a big misconception, is like people will come into the stream, and I get this one a lot, is I didn't expect, like, I thought you'd have more viewers, and I'm like, oh well, what did you expect exactly? You know, because
That's
it's been
fun.
good for me. But
That's
yeah,
nice.
yeah, it's like it's been good for me, but it's like I don't. It's like everything's been trending upward, but it's always people that are like, first or second time in, and they don't know the kind of like consistency, I guess, of the stream, or like the mood of it or whatever. So
Mhm.
um, they're, I think, caught off guard a little bit.
Yeah, that's always an interesting one. It reminds me of, as a side note, it reminds me of a lot of art stuff. Um, nobody writes the stories about like the totally normal artists behind the scenes, but that's the vast majority of all artists. Like if like people are scrambling to meet them and hang out with them, sort of like get VIP access. Then you hang out with them and it's just a dude,
Yeah.
just a dude being a dude doing dude stuff. And
Mhm.
they're like, what is this? You make all
Yeah.
the craziest stuff. And you're like, yeah, that's the point of the art, is to do the crazy stuff. Not,
Yeah.
I don't live
Yeah.
that life. That's why I do that thing. It's
Yeah.
for that to be crazy.
Yeah. One of the biggest
But you don't
connections,
know that because nobody writes that story.
like we mentioned before, one of the biggest, I think, comparisons is like stand-up comedians. Do the joke, funny guy. It's like, dude, I'm shopping. I'm shopping for like cucumbers and shit.
I'm buying
The
toilet
shoe-
paper. What do you want?
Make me laugh.
Yeah. Riff on that cucumber. Yeah, looks like a dick.
my
I don't like.
Yeah, there was I think it was Long Beach Griffey actually he does like skit comedy, and one of his videos is literally about like being an entertainer in public, or like outside of like people expecting you to be funny all the time. And one of his things was, you're an entertainer, you're only funny, or you only matter when you're entertaining. Like that was
Uh-huh.
and it was a joke like in the video, but it's actually really, really true. You go from like posting like jokes or something, right? Like people have a kind of idea of your content, right?
Mhm.
If you post something that is off of what they're used to seeing you do, it's kind of crazy, the reaction, and like how, I guess, like little people actually care about anything outside of your content sometimes,
Low engagement, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I just thought that was really interesting that you said that. Like, you only matter when you're entertaining. That's sometimes what it feels like
Yeah.
to like a lot of people,
And also, people in general too don't like change. Like at their core, they really just
Or
don't
no.
like change. They like the
Yeah.
thing that they like, and once you start introducing them to something else,
Oh God, do
initially
I like
they're
that
like,
stuff?
that's not the thing that I wanted, though.
I think also it's, especially with streaming, I find it's notoriously difficult to have success on other platforms translate directly into viewership. Like, I think it's easier for streaming to grow out, but I think like doing well on Twitter or Instagram doesn't really come back at you in terms of streaming.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, one of the creators that I use all the time for that example, because I get asked that question a decent amount actually, is Creator. If any of you know who Cray is.
Yeah.
I think it was like last year maybe. I found his stream like randomly. He was playing Skyrim. He had like 2,000 followers, right? He blew up during Overwatch. Like, got rated by a few other like YouTubers named Moosilk and some other people. And his stream exploded, and due to that, like his YouTube and things like blew up because of that as well. And it was because like you said, I do think that the transition from Twitch to other platforms is a little bit easier than the other way around, than like the reverse. And I always use him as an example because like it was like an 8-month period where like everything just kind of blew up like all at once for him. So like I think that transition is a little bbit easier.
Yeah,
for
John
people.
Sandman, I think it's the same thing. He was a teammate of mine for a long time, so I got to watch and talk to him personally through a lot of those improvements that were happening from the metrics wise and engagement, as he started publishing to stuff that he was doing on stream to YouTube, and that the engagement over there started really ramping up, and he was like pushing people over there, and then that started to steamroll, and it started eventually to transition back. but it was only realistically because of like, that initial work that he had done on Twitch to get that position, and then leverage that and push that over to get the back and forth. But yeah, to that point, of several friends of mine have had the same, and I've seen one friend of mine in particular who's got she's got I don't know, 100, 200,000 followers on Twitter, streams on Twitch, 5 days a week to 100 people. It's it's crazy the way that works. And the same thing with some people who have had a killer following over on YouTube, and then they try to start streaming, and it's such a different beast, and the traction just doesn't happen in the same way.
Well, again,
really
too,
interesting.
especially for people that YouTube is being able to cut your stuff down. It's post-production. It's editing out your mistakes and things like that.
Yeah, right.
And then a lot of YouTubers have an issue doing that
Absolutely.
on Twitch, and it's a new beast for them. And then also for their viewers, it's a little jarring because same effect. They're used to seeing Burger Kid or you person in vlog, with cuts and things like that. Not that you're you get what I'm saying.
No,
this isn't a negative thing.
I'm trash. Okay,
you vlog piece of yeah. So it's a little jarring for the viewer, and again, they don't know what to expect at first coming in, and if it's not what they
have
wanted,
an expectation.
They have an expectation.
It's the wrong one.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they
have an
filling in
expectation
every second, every gap in your gameplay, in the conversations. You're reading chat, and your face is bland while you're doing that, and all those things as you're doing it live.
Basically, Lance, you need to have multiple cameras set up all over you, a lot of props, a fake burger, so that way you can just cut between cameras.
Just to capitalize on this one absolutely.
I would honestly do that, not all the time. I would do it as a response to people that ask.
Just set it up.
Be like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to have multiple cameras and stuff, and then just have it ready?
And in the moment, it's what? Do the oh my god, that
kind
would be really good.
Who was it? Andy Kaufman. Where they always asked him to do his role from Taxi, and so he'd just get mad and start reading a book on stage because they tell him to do his acting thing or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a lot of it too. Is people just they have an expectation and they come in and they're just. I don't know if they're necessarily let down. It's just not necessarily what they thought you were, or they feel like. And I kind of talked about this the other day. There's a lot of people that feel like they know me. They relate to me from a 2-minute video, and it's they actually think that they know where I stand on all of these different topics. I make jokes, but I don't ever really put necessarily my opinion heavily in the videos. You know what I mean? Or I'll make a joke about a pretty serious
commentary, but not
outrage
an argument. You're not positing a position. You're noting what's going on in the sphere.
Yeah.
And you don't go to a debate and then just show, well, here's my take on this. Watch this clip.
Yeah, exactly. And
check this.
And so it's been a weird thing because people, and I like it. I guess it's a good thing that they do relate to me, but at the same time, I think it can get a little I don't want to say dangerous, but a little weird that people feel like they know me from a 2-minute clip.
Well, so
a 2-minute
what other kinds
clip.
of pitfalls do you have in spreading your content out to multiple platforms, especially when you're taking with this kind of approach, where it's a very different kind of content, right? It's because it's not the same. It's not reflecting the kind of stuff that you see on stream. What other kinds of hazards do you have? Is it a matter of spreading yourself too thin? Is that a real fear when you're trying to create content on multiple platforms, attempting too much content on too many platforms without a roadmap or a vision, losing your way on your anchor platform because you've spent so much time on Twitch, but now you're trying to branch out and you don't know how to do it right, so you're spending all your energy and time trying to do this other thing?
I do think that spreading yourself too thin is a real danger, because I've done it before. Streaming and even even today we talked about I made a video and didn't stream today. You know what I mean? And streaming is my main source of income. And it's I was just you know what, screw that. I'm just gonna make a video.
Yeah, Max, you were saying the same thing about editing too, right? Is now I gotta go make the stream, and if I gotta go do the stream, and if I wasn't having a good time editing, that energy kind of transitions over.
And like you said too, and that's an interesting point that you said, streaming is your main source of income, yet you recognize that the value of putting out the Twitter videos, even though it not necessarily monetizes, or it does or it doesn't at a smaller rate, it still helps you and benefits getting people interested in you as just a person on the internet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
It's weird. It's like the video will do more than me streaming, and it's just due to like the algorithms and the growth on the other platforms.
Mhm.
Whereas like you eliminate that random chance of like the only way that you grow on Twitch when you think about it is the random chance of somebody clicking on your stream or somebody hosting you.
Right.
Whereas if I made a video, or if you post a YouTube video, people are going to see that, and that the website does all your promoting for you. It promotes just you, and I guess it's like I will see more growth out of focusing on other things rather than just bashing my face into streaming.
Right.
And that's just because it eliminates the like weird random chance of the only growth. The only way that I grow or
Yeah.
like my stream gets in front of people is if people click on it.
It's more
just really what it is.
controlled, right?
Yeah.
In what you're saying.
I'm going to
Yeah.
use that corporate term of it's more organic.
Yeah.
Rather than just, like you said, billboard adding Twitter all the time. Be like, hey, I'm live. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing, time management is very important. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of people getting into streaming are balancing working a full-time job or going to school or something. So, it may not be the wisest thing to try to expand to all these platforms, especially early on. And to kind of take a lesson from what you guys mentioned, I think, it's not every form of content creation is going to be for you. And, you may find something that's not streaming that clicks a lot better, that
Yeah.
that just kind of steamrolls from there. And it's like, oh, well, actually, maybe I should go do more YouTube stuff because that's actually been doing really well. Or, Instagram, I really enjoy this and it's doing well for me. Maybe I should focus more time on that and shift, your focus based on what's working well and what you're actually enjoying and understanding.
Mm-hmm. That's a big part of the reason why I've shifted, not just from like a monetary and YouTube like kind of screwing things up viewership wise, for my YouTube channel, but I enjoy streaming more. It's a lot more of what I love. It's like the core of me being able to just entertain and have that instant gratification of having people watch and be excited by my content, and I know that people are enjoying the stream. Rather than like, I appreciate everybody that watches my YouTube stuff, but also YouTube comments are pretty bad. Thankfully, mine is not as bad as a lot of other channels, but there's a disconnect there, and there always will be a disconnect there, because it's a VOD. It's there for them to watch on their time. I'm not hanging out in my sorry guys, I'm not hanging out in my comments going like,
The hubris I'm seeing right now, Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those people rushing to be first to comment.
Guess what? I don't
They're
care.
not getting noticed.
None of us care. None of us care as YouTubers. Like,
No,
but
I
go
agree
for
with
it.
the-
Get that first
yeah.
comment. Do it.
I definitely agree with the disconnect part. And
Yeah.
as far as like live content to non-live content, where like, and I actually DM'd one of my friends and was saying like, it's really weird that people are enjoying the videos and stuff, because whenever I'm watching that stuff happen, like I showed my notifications on stream the other day and it just said like 99 plus, and everybody's like, how do you sort through that? And I was like, I really kind of don't, like, because it's too much. And on top of that, like, it doesn't even feel like people are reacting necessarily to me as much as they are the video. Whereas like in my stream,
Yeah.
that's me.
Well,
Right.
you're doing characters and things
Yeah,
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing
So
with
they're-
a lot of entertainment. Like you said, with like Andy Kaufman, he's just doing characters the entire time, and it's like, do you know who that guy is? That guy might be, like completely
Yeah.
different, but he likes doing that thing, and it's an outlet. So for
Yeah.
you, it's like doing these characters as an outlet for you to do this sort of thing that you like, but being
Yeah.
able to
Oh, yeah.
stream and have people connect with you, the person, it's a whole different thing.
Now, that was another question that I had, and another one that's drawn from my own thinking about moving out to other platforms, right? Because I was a career artist before I started streaming. I have a deep, passionate connection to survivalism, wilderness, outdoors stuff. I don't hunt anymore, but I like getting out there and almost dying. Things like that are real big driving factors for me, and while I want some of that to be private and personal and just be for me, I also want to share some of that stuff. But I struggle with it because I can't even find the time to do that in my personal life. How do you think that how much value and consideration do you think there should be given to like actively trying to create content either on your anchor platform or on other platforms that serves a purpose like that as an outlet, as something that is I'm passionate about this other thing, but I can't really, it's hard for me to justify doing it in my personal life because I need the metrics and whatever. Obviously, there's a tough line to ride there, but do you think that's something that's worth considering, or is it really dangerous, to look at these as outlets for your like creative expression or these other things that you want to do, or really useful?
So you're asking, is it worth it to invest time in other things that not necessarily like good for you growth wise and monetarily, or
I
what was
think
it?
I left it intentionally ambiguous because I don't know exactly how to phrase what
Okay.
my question is.
Okay. Well, I guess it's a good thing to touch on anyways, because I think it's kind of what you're talking about. Good example for me is I do those role play shows that I do, right? With JP and Adam and Dan's Game and all those dudes. It allows me to work with other broadcasters that I really respect and I know are talented in what they do. Monetarily, not really. I make some money from it. We get compensated for it, but it's not something that it's a large investment of time. But for me, I see a lot of people that find me through that show, and also vice versa. It allows me to create content that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to create, and it allows an outlet for me to show off being able to do different characters and voices and immerse myself in roles, and people get invested into those characters from those shows. And so there's a lot of cross pollination that way. And the big one is just it's content that I would love to make on my own, but I cannot make on my own because I can't do that on my own.
Right.
But like, do I make a whole bunch of money doing those shows? No, I don't. I do it because I like doing those shows and I really like doing characters and things like that and voices. So it's an outlet for me to do that. And also, again, work with other professionals that are known on Twitch and have, audiences that care about what they
certainly
do. And so it's a good way to network.
What a great word.
But yeah, I mean, it's an evil, right? It's a necessary evil of doing this. You want to network, but networking the right way, it comes back to being genuine, and hopefully people resonate with you as a person and your character, rather than like, hey, this guy really wants my numbers.
Yeah, right.
So there's value in that way for me, but
I just think that's like a trade-off that you have to be like, you have to understand, I guess, yourself, like the trade-off of, like you said, like the trade-off of like money to like what you enjoy doing and like the other things that come with that, with you doing that. I just think you need to know like what you're willing to trade off to do those other things. If you're willing to, sacrifice some time like streaming to work on your stuff, and you don't mind doing that, like if it's gonna bother you to do that, to work on that stuff, and the whole time you're doing it, you're like, I should be doing this other thing, I shouldn't be doing this, then you shouldn't be doing that. You should go do the other thing.
That's what I'm trying to figure that one out for myself.
Yeah, and that's just you. Like you gotta, like, if it's gonna like bother you the whole time, then don't do it. Just do it when you want to,
Right.
Yeah. With content creation, when streaming becomes your job, or when playing video games becomes your job, you lose like that. You still enjoy it. Like I would say all of us here still enjoy content creation, but it's important to still have outlets that are just kind of more hobbyish, and that stuff still helps with content creation, right? But it's like, I think it is very important to do things outside the box, even if it's just like some type of small creative outlet that allows you to experiment, try new things. And I think that's the beauty of content creation, is it's so versatile. There's so many different things that we can do. So it's like, people don't like change, but like if you test out other things, like you might even hit on something that actually people really do like, and then you found.
And I have seen that a couple of times.
Keep going with that.
Where somebody was like, I sort of want to do this for me. Like I need to do this because I need to do this. And they start making a thing, and they're like, hey, and if you guys like this other thing that I do, go watch it over there. And then suddenly like that thing starts taking off, and they're like, oh, I can actually focus more time on it. And then they transition all their time over to doing. They're like, I'm so much happier now because this is the thing that I didn't even know that I wanted to do the whole time. And I just started doing it because it was fun. And I mean, think about how many of our streamer friends say the same thing about streaming. It's like, I started streaming because it was fun, and then it's like the coolest thing that I've ever done, and so I just kept doing it. Same thing can also be true about some of these other things, like going into podcasting, or people who've done like, like interesting like modeling stuff, and also like cosplay creation stuff. Like they started cosplaying just for doing launch events or whatever. And then they're like, cosplaying is so fun, it actually took off. Now that's most of what I'm doing. This is really, really neat to see how those transitions can work because you did it because you wanted to, because you had that passion.
Yeah.
Well, if you come in, it's already hard enough for us that have been doing it for a while to stay away from like focusing on numbers and metrics and all that stuff, and that just being the only thing that affects your mental mood and state.
Yeah.
So if you're already coming into the space with that thought process, you're already shooting yourself in the foot. And it's so hard for people to understand, like, yes, those things are important, but they do not help you have a good stream. Like they can help you to a point, but they do not help people get engaged with you if you're constantly looking at your viewer count and being like, wow, more people need to be watching me right now. That's why I always encourage people that start out streaming to just don't look at that, get used to being in front of the camera and figuring out what you're about. Like you are raw. As much as you may have some like innate talents that you're, that are a part of you and, your skill set, you're still raw as a broadcaster and you don't know necessarily what your stream's about. Unless you're just really focused and you do. I don't know. Maybe you're.
I think I'm going to steal that phrasing because I focus on the same concept, but I don't think I use that same phrasing. I really like this. Your numbers don't make you have a good stream. They don't. They don't make you have a good. They may reflect it, but they don't make you have a good stream. So if what you want to do is have a good stream, what can you do to have a good stream? What can you focus on and actually put into the stream to get a good stream out of that? Because it sure as hell ain't numbers.
Yeah.
It's nice to see numbers and stuff, but what happens if you see like less than you want? Even me now, like sometimes I try my best to never look at it during my stream. Sometimes I'll check like maybe like 2 hours in and then like towards the end or something like that. But most of the time I try nowadays not to look at it because then you can always check it out afterwards and then you can pick it apart and stuff when you're not on camera in front of a microphone where it's going to obviously affect your mental state. That doesn't help.
That's what I'm trying to do now is like once a week, I want to go back and look at all the things that I was, the games I was streaming what else was happening at that time and what my numbers were and how many raids I got and how that affected stuff. Once a week, get myself like a weekly assessment for metrics so I don't have to focus on it the rest of the time.
So we are running out of time here. So if you guys have any questions for us before we head off, we can rapid fire a couple questions before we do our shout outs. So anything we talked about, anything related to the nature of today's show, feel free to throw it in chat and we'll try to answer what we can before we have to jet.
Use the Stream Doctor for that? That's true. Stream Doctor's a pretty fantastic show. Hey, Loka, when is that show?
For this month, it's Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. New day, because I have an obligation on Tuesdays. But yeah, if you want your stream reviewed, you want help particularly on your stream, you should check that out.
That's free right here.
You guys just pick apart streams mercilessly.
Oh man, see if that were true, like I would absolutely need Loco to focus on mine because I need a little bit of shred.
You got to tear them down before you can build them up, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's not for the faint of heart. No. It's nice. I'm nice about it. It's just feedback. Like it's just like, hey, look at my channel. Tell me any feedback. I'll look at your
and when you can't focus on you are. We are our own worst critics every time. And sometimes, not even just because we're picking apart, but sometimes we're like, no, that thing's fantastic when nobody else thinks so. Yeah. And you really need both sides of that. It's like, that thing is great, but you don't know it. And that thing is terrible, even though you think it's great. And seeing like where you can make those transitions. You can't just rely on yourself to look at those. I always find that to be so interesting.
It's always helpful to have like a different set of eyes on things. So we do have a question from Spilled Orange Juice, who asks, what are your thoughts on branching out with more physical things like merch or even startup companies? Really good question. I mean, one thing that comes to mind prominently is, Professor Broman with Rare Drop. They do Guardian Con. They have their coffee
King's
company,
Coast,
King's Coast.
Yeah. Same thing with Dodger doing coffee stuff. Basically, start a coffee company is what it comes down to.
I have coffee myself.
Successful.
It's wonderful. It's in my Twitch mug.
No, I think that's still something that you're seeing streamers now kind of try to foray into and figure out. And some of them have had success with it, but you don't see it on a larger scale because it is tough to do.
Very tough.
And the ones that are doing it are the ones that have their stuff together, the ones that are kind of taking the risk, because it is a risk too. It's not necessarily guaranteed that it's going to work. For me, I think the thing that most people can try to do for merch is I have crappy merch right now. It's not the worst merch ever, but it's not anywhere where I want it to be. And I'll straight up tell you that. I think the shirts are good, but I think they can be a lot better and more consistent with more variety. And that's part of what I'm working on this year. Beyond that,
Nice.
yeah, I think trying to keep your ears open and uh, see what might be a potential opportunity for you, and being willing to take risks, or at the very least learn more about X potential endeavor.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you, Broman and all these people, like none of that would have happened if they didn't first sit down and even have those initial talks. People are afraid to have those initial
Yes.
talks at first and being open to opportunity like that, because it's scary when you go outside of your box. You know, streaming, you know this, and then people are like, well, this is also potentially interesting too. And it's hard to sort through all the bull emails of like, hey, this opportunity for, like, it's hard to find out what's legit and worth your time, right?
Yeah.
Very.
But I think conquering that initial fear to even just have those discussions and see what is there. Because if you don't like it and it seems like something that's not a good fit for you, then you don't have to do it. But if you're crippled by fear to not even have those discussions at first, then nothing will happen and you'll just stay in your box.
I think a plan is important, but at the same time, not demanding a perfect plan, because then you'll
Yeah.
never get off the ground, because there's no such thing.
Yeah.
You'll just sit there and
Yeah.
go and wait until you somehow magically construct the perfect plan that can't exist.
Yeah.
And in conjunction with that, I don't like the idea of throwing, just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. And just trying a bunch of different, like all at once, is I'm going to have coffee and I'm going to have merch at this store and merch at this other store and this other type of thing, and be doing.
You got to cover all your bases.
Yeah, like 3,000 different things, because people are going to be so inundated that they're not going to want to get any of them. It's like, well, I don't know which one's the best. I'm just not even going to bother.
Yeah.
So like, what do you really want to focus on for that stuff? And that's probably true with spreading out your content in all these other ways as well, in addition to like the merch and all the various links that you can have, and starting up additional companies. How many platforms are you going to go out to? Well, which ones make the most sense for what you actually want to do?
This is it's a perfect opportunity to mention to you guys my GassyMexican odor spray. If you guys are interested in that at all, it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. But
Damn it.
I want to smell like a gassy Mexican.
no, that doesn't even sound good. It doesn't even.
Yeah, no.
Maybe in like a Spencer's gift shop.
Yeah, right. Spencer's.
That's about the only appeal it has, is like a novelty thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to be known for that.
The thing with merch too is, like, if you make merch based on your brand, you have to have a brand, you have to have an identity. Doesn't make sense to like start streaming and have a merch store. Like, it goes back to what we mentioned earlier. You don't want to spread yourself out too thin. I think having a merch store from the get-go is like the worst option of any of your options to like spread into. Like, focus on your Twitter, focus on building that brand before you sell your brand.
Absolutely.
I didn't have a merch shop for the longest time because I didn't want it to be crap. When I say it's crap, it's because I haven't put the effort in to make it better. The quality of the shirts and stuff, like, it's DBH and they have pretty decent quality, but I haven't invested the time to make it what I want it to be. I see so many people that are newer, smaller streamers that just like have a merch store. I'm like, what? Like, I guess if you just wanted to wear your own shirt, which is kind of partly what I just wanted. I just wanted to have a shirt that had my stuff on it. That's fine. But if you're going in there with expectations,
my mom too.
What were you gonna say, Lance? I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I had a joke merch store for a long time. Whenever I was like a lot, I guess, like smaller.
That sounds like you.
Where like I don't even remember the site it was set up on, but people could click on it and it would have like random messages that I put on like a thong or something, and it would be just the most random garbage ever. But it was not like my brand at all. But it was just a joke thing that like people could click on and stuff.
Well, but now you have a brand. You have memes based about the content that you've made. Like, where are the Burger Kid shirts? I'm just saying.
Now it's time to sell out.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, give it to us.
Now, my biggest fear with the merch thing is quality, because you guys remember all the stuff that was blowing up about like streamers shipping out shirts after they ran a campaign and like they were faded or they ruined after one wash or they were just the wrong size, wrong material. That scares the ever loving hell out of me.
Yeah.
To put my brand with another company and be like, here, I trust you completely to make something great for everybody that supports me and spends money on me and things like that. And that's why there's a streamer, Wavy, actually. He does his own, like he got like a t-shirt press
Yeah,
or
press.
whatever it is.
Pretty,
And
yeah.
like, so he does all of his own, so like he knows like the quality of them basically. And that's the only other option I think I would
Scream.
probably go with, but I know it's not practical for me at least.
Mhm.
For most people, a lot of people, they just go with like the design by humans and stuff like that. But
Which design by humans has gotten better and stuff over the time, but even
Yeah.
then,
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
they get some misprints and stuff where it's like, all right, what happened here?
Sure.
Thankfully, and again, I can say that maybe this level of service doesn't. I know that it doesn't always trickle down to like smaller streamers and stuff. If I say to them maybe like, hey, can we sort this out? Can we fix this order? They might respond more because of just being a larger streamer and stuff. But that doesn't. That's not necessarily indicative of somebody who's smaller being like, hey, somebody got this order and it's slightly bad. I'm not going to guarantee that they'll respond to you just
Yeah.
because that's what they do as a business, right? They look at and the word is escaping me. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna stop talking. If that's cool with you.
Okay.
No,
They-
we
they
want to
cater
see
to
you
you.
keep
Question.
trying to figure this out.
We do
They
another question from
prioritize. They
Echo
prioritize.
next.
Thank you, God.
Do you guys do anything if one day your stream flops? Let's see, because they have 100 viewers, but
That's
then
the
drops
question
to
I was going
60.
to get to.
Well, so if you drop to 60 from 100, that's not a stream flopping. If you're 12 from 100, it consists that would be a different thing. 60's a bump in the road. It's did you do anything about it or no? Yeah, so that I think that's part of the value of doing the multi-platform stuff. Having your foot. That's part of the point of the subject that we're tackling as a whole. The part of the point of having your foot in or fingers in different pies, feet in different. I don't know how stuff works. I know things. You get to pivot. You get to like while you have some power, you should try and leverage that in a way that creates value on other platforms in case something happens, because nothing is going to last forever. Twitch doesn't, YouTube doesn't. They seem like immense powerhouses now, but never in the history of humanity has that ever been the case. Rome fell, right? Everything. This is how things go.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Like,
It might be
don't
valuable to
rely
start that
solely
way.
on Twitch or solely on
Yeah,
YouTube.
right.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
should
you-
always like be branching on one other platform. I think is like focus on this and like have a Twitter or something.
Sure. Yeah. That's true.
But yeah, guys, that is gonna wrap it up for us today. We're gonna do our shout outs. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and Max, Lance, thank you guys so much for being here. And this has been a
Thank you so
knowledge
much.
bomb of an episode. So thank you
That was
guys.
great.
Yeah, it was
That was
fun.
awesome. Yeah.
Because I think this is one of the most important subjects.
For
that
sure. It's got
doesn't
my
get
mind
talked
thinking.
about.
Like, this is going to be one of the episodes where after I'm just like, I have so many ideas, so many thoughts.
I
feel
know. I'm considering not streaming later today so that I can just work on the stuff that we've talked about.
Max, where can we find you? What are you streaming? What are you up to?
You guys can find me on Twitter at GassyMexican. You can find me on Instagram at GassyMexican_. See, I'm doing the thing. No, literally just look up GassyMexican, and you'll find it on pretty much everything. I'm a variety broadcaster that has been doing it for a while. Kind of what you see is what you get here. Maybe a little bit more amped up energy. But yeah, I just kind of do my thing and try to entertain and be funny. That's it.
Lance, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Llance with 2 L's, or however
The
you
L
want to say
Lance.
it. The L Lance. Somebody said it was THL Lance, and I didn't know how to take that one. But
Lance.
THL
yeah.
Lance.
The Twitch is just, I mean, it's on the screen, so I guess I don't really need to say too much about that. But no, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on the show. I've watched the show a lot, so I was very, very happy whenever Hunter reached out to me, and I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Woohoo!
And I was
It's been
happy.
a blast and a pleasure.
I was happy that I was able to make it this time. That was great.
Thanks for actually showing up. Thanks for actually showing
You're
up.
welcome. You are very welcome. No, I was happy that you guys didn't. For those that don't know, I was supposed to be on here before. Totally just slept through it. Didn't even, and then forgot about it. Realized I forgot about it and was like, oh my god, I'm a horrible friend. so I'm here now. And also just because it is a show about improving streams and tips and stuff like that. I do have some stuff on the creator camp stuff on Twitch. If you want to check that out.
Oh, cool.
Tips and tricks and things like that about just kind of for newer streamers. If you're kind of a little bit more experienced with streaming, maybe it's not good advice, but you can hear me word vomit a little bit at the
Well, it's
camera.
never going to be bad advice, right? It's always going to be valuable.
I don't know. I just say what I know, and if it makes sense, I literally say in the creator camp too. I'm pretty sure anything that I say, I usually like, this may work for you, it may not. I don't know. Just take it for what it is.
Sure.
But check that out if you want to, because some people have found that helpful.
Cool.
That's all I got.
Thanks. Okay, Anthem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be streaming a hell of a lot of Anthem over on twitch.tv/thehunterwild starting on Friday. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be 12 hours a day plus. And I'm incredibly excited about that. That's my pitch for me. I've been posting a crazy load of stuff on Instagram at the Hunter Wild, and I'm really at my peak on Twitter at the Hunter Wild TV. Frankly, I think I'm just at the peak of Twitter. So if you want to see the absolute best emptiness and nothingness, I definitely have you covered.
Really selling yourself there.
I know. I've got it down. I've learned a lot.
Also, I do want to say, guys, that there is a show right after this.
Yeah!
There's a show right after this. Don't go anywhere because Your Brand, Your Business is going to be on literally at the end of this show. They're going to be joined by McLaffy Taffy talking about how to work with an agency. Which is
a very important subject.
Yes. So it's going to be really, really helpful, and it's literally at the second that the show ends. So stay tuned, guys, for some more educational content about streaming. All right. Anyways.
Do you have that on a sticky note that you just read?
No.
Stay tuned for more educational content
on the next episode. But yeah, I'm twitch.tv/LocoLWCO. You can find me on Twitter as well, Loco2525. I am currently doing a Metro playthrough for my first time.
Oh, that's right.
So
cool.
I'm playing all the Metro games.
Yep.
Did not realize that they were scary. So it's been an interesting first day.
Oh, they are.
little lot of jump scares, little creepy, but I'm a baby. But anyways, I'm getting through it. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this content, follow us here on Twitch. We do shows. We have 3 shows weekly now. So we have this, Your Brand, Your Business, and the Stream Doctor on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can check us out on Twitter, YouTube, website, basically everything is Streamersquare.
Website, internet,
streamersquare.com, beep boop bop. Check us out, guys. We also have a Discord. It's open to everybody. So if you need help, you want to talk with other streamers, find some artists to work with, get some tech help, check out the Discord. It's all free, and it's really, really helpful stuff. And if you want to give us some money, you can check us out on Patreon, because you get really cool behind the scenes stuff like this episode, behind the scenes before and after the show, and Q&As, other stuff on the Patreon. Give us some money to help us do what we do here, and we'll give you some cool stuff in return.
Give us money!
It's as straightforward as it could be. Give us some money.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time on the stream scene. Have a good day, and stay tuned for Your Brand, Your Business right after this.
Bye, my friends. Wild. We are Streamersquare. We're veteran streamers who know what it's like to start with a powerful dream, but also with 0 viewers and followers. It can be incredibly challenging and feel surprisingly lonely, especially when it seems like you have to do and learn everything yourself.
That's why I started Streamersquare back in 2014 when I was trying to figure out how to stream. There wasn't much information out there. I wanted to create a central resource for people who are trying to learn how to stream, but also for more experienced creators who are trying to take their stream to the next level. And now, I'm teaming up with the Hunter Wild as well as HB Fox to really gear up what we can do for passionate and driven streamers like you.
So you can learn what works, what doesn't, and why in order to create your own success without having to make the same mistakes as everyone else. We want to help you work smarter, not harder, and to see greater success as early as possible.
We're all content creators. All of us know how challenging it can be to get rewarded for the countless hours, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that go into our passions. At Streamersquare, we're no exception.
We want to put something wonderful out into the world and see people fall in love with it, grow from it, come back, and help us create more of it. And that's only possible when you throw yourself into the mix, because you are an integral part of what we do.
So what is Patreon? Why does it matter? And how does it all work? Patreon gives content creators like us a way to get paid for all the hard work we put into our free content and resources, like our expansive info-rich website and deeply informative podcast streams, all while letting our patrons get some incredibly unique rewards and the gratitude they deserve. You can choose from any of our reward tiers that speaks to you the most, as well as fit your budget in order to become an official patron, and gain access to patron exclusive goodies, features, and content.
We've got everything from a low commitment thank you tier all the way up to personal coaching for your stream, and even more coming in the future. And if you need to tone down or ramp up your patronage, you can do so with ease to maintain complete control and get exactly what you need. You can change your patron level at will.
Patrons like you are vital to what we do. As a patron, you're not only fueling our creative engines and significantly helping to fund the entirety of Streamersquare, but you're also allowing us to seize upon our singular vision of crafting the best opportunities and chances of success for streamers.
As you help us hit our goals, we get to empower Streamersquare together to build out even bigger and better rewards while continuing to keep our existing content and resources fresh and on point. So whether you're a content creator yourself or have a desire to help us co-create vibrant careers for all the streamers out there, Patreon is a fantastic and easy approach. Become a patron and let us do the heavy lifting.
Let us work with you to make something incredible starting right now. Seize the opportunity to use anything and everything we can do to give you the most power and control over your stream and your entire career as a content creator. We're going to do everything we can to take the tens of thousands of hours of streaming experience and package it up for you.
Make your own luck, get the most out of your grind, learn from our mistakes and successes, and carve your own path right alongside us. Pick one of our Patreon reward tiers right now to take your next big step towards success. And let's create a stream the internet can't ignore.
Back in... I don't know the words.
This is how we do it. Bam, 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 bam.
Patreon gives content...
Your patronage in the future farts on a pickle.
This hair. Do not do that. Do not do that hair.
We should probably have like up reels. What do you call those things? I don't know.